Tesla Q4 production and delivery estimate, and a sneak peek at the 11-year production tracker. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla weekend. It should come as no surprise that Tesla is having another good quarter in an already fantastic year. Last year, they were guiding for 50% growth year over year, but cautioned that some years may beat or not quite meet that level. So here we are. Let's just get into it. This was on Patreon a few days ago, but I have updated it a couple times since then, and I expect one more update before the end of the year as I go through all the drone footage in detail to confirm or adjust my figures. Fremont SNX. I have this at 12,600, which is, a tad above last quarter. And we have seen some Model X production and even a start to deliveries. So this number should be good. The idea is they're still ramping and there are still part shortages, and it's going to take a little while to get there. And we know the line is shared between S and X. So for part of the quarter, it was not producing S's, and they were retooling for the launch of the Model X. So I think this number is pretty good. I'm reasonably comfortable with it. Fremont 3 and Y, I put at 102,302, and I did this by taking the best quarter of the year and adjusting it based on holidays. There are a couple holiday days in there. I put in 2 for Thanksgiving and 2 for Christmas. I think that should get us right about there. I don't think we'll see the big dip we saw in Q3 with just 99,818 produced, so I think that's a reasonable figure. 3 and Y out of Shanghai is more complicated. Now, we do already have the October and November production numbers, and so I arrived at this number because I took out the holiday. I adjusted for the number of business days. They were mostly shut for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Very little going on, but they were still cranking all year. And I may adjust this because there's some new footage I saw from one of the drone providers that provides exceptional insight into what the numbers will be. So here we go, 288, 708, that's the number. That's it. That's a big quarter, and I am definitely an outlier, so far at least. I think I've only looked at the Wall Street guys, and they are absolute clowns. I've seen numbers as low as 250. I have seen numbers that say, well, maybe they won't beat Q3, which I think is preposterous. That gives us a total annual production for 2021, about 24,000 SNX, about 409,000 out of Fremont for the 3 and Y, and 480,000 just out of Shanghai. That's almost last year's whole production, which is very exciting looking forward, for a total annual production of 913,290. But let's talk about the 11-year tracker. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a sneak peek of it. So I'm working this as 5 different models: Ultra Bear, Bear, Neutral, Bull, Ultra Bull. And they all have a number of assumptions in there. Let's go through them and see what we got. So looking at 913 for this year in the Ultra Bear model. And by the way, we're just going to cover Ultra Bear and Bear today. We'll get to that. These red numbers indicate a step change. Shanghai barely got out in 2019, grew nicely in 2021, and is looking fantastic. In the Ultra Bear case, it's just no expansion beyond the current footprints and no step changes. What we're looking at is Fremont just growing by about 5% a year, all the way out to 2030 when they're at 672,000. I think that number is preposterously low. Again, this is the Ultra Bear case. It assumes flat growth. Maybe demand is going to fall off a cliff. I don't see that happening, but it's possible. In Shanghai, we had these step changes, of course, and going out, looking at past this year, only growing by about 10%, which would get us to 2030 at 1.1 million vehicles. This is absolutely doable just with today's factory. And that will also be covered in the Patreon exclusive. Berlin is not online. Texas, not online. Next year, in an absolute ultra bare situation, we're looking at a paltry 80,000 units. Growing to 300 as more parts of the factories come online, and then kind of flat from there. Bit of growth, and then just 10% from there out. 3.399 million in the ultra bear case. For the record and for reference, Wall Street believes this 1.659 in just 2 years' time is ultra bearish. The Wall Street consensus is guiding for less than that. If you have a $2,000 a month Bloomberg terminal, you've already seen this. It's not plausible to me. So that's the ultra bear case. 3.4 million units. So let's see where that would put them. List of manufacturers by motor vehicle production. Now this list is out of date. It's more of a barometer than meant to be absolutely inclusive. It only goes up to 2018 because the single resource they use to put this together no longer puts out that sheet. So I'll be making my own here in the next few months. But the idea is, here's all your big dogs. Biggest producers are in the 10 million range. 10 million a year for Toyota, VW, 7 million for Hyundai. Not bad. So 3.9 million would put them in the top 10. At least according to this. There have been some consolidations and whatnot that would move some numbers around. But in an ultra bear case, there's still a top 10 producer in 2030. And that would, as of right now, they're not even on the list. And that may change because this year was a very difficult production time for a lot of manufacturers. So we shall see. So let's look at the bear case. In the bear case, this is less enthusiastic than I expect, but more enthusiastic than the ultra bear case. Flat growth, expansion based only on well understood plans. So we're looking at Fremont here, and I've got the first exciting catalyst. We're looking at, I believe in 2023, when Texas ramps, they will begin major renovations in Fremont, which will lower the production initially and increase it over time, getting them out to 1 million a year-ish by 2030. Retooling takes time and money, probably a year, but it will happen. I believe that once Austin is ramped. We've also got the semi. 1,000 units in 2022 is still, I believe, very conservative. And just increasing in a pretty flat, pretty linear sort of way out to a paltry 15,000 in 2030. So looking at 15,000 units, how does that stack up? It doesn't sound like many. Well, in 2019, which was a very good year, that would have put them absolutely on the map. 250,000-ish, that gives them 7% market share. That would be quite good. And 15,000 is quite realistic. Looking at Shanghai, we're already out in 2021. The growth we're looking at here, this is only based on current annualized production rates. This should hold steady. There's no reason it should dip below that with no added efficiencies at all. And then it's reasonable to assume a little bit of growth and then 10% after that, putting them at 2 million in Shanghai by 2030. 2 million just from Shanghai in 2030. Getting out to Berlin, that will come online in 2022, right? As will Texas. Texas is definitely coming online in 2022. And again, this is looking at the bear case, not the ultra bear, but the bear case. Grow to 350 and 350, and then a nice jump to 500. To think they can't do 500 is ridiculous because the factories are next generation and about as big or bigger than, they're comparable in size to Giga Shanghai, including all phases. And we know Giga Shanghai is already well past 500,000 in production, or about at 500,000 in production and will be shortly. 2025, another nice jump, and then just 10% from there out, putting us at 5.4 million in 2030. So let's go back over here. So looking at that, on the chart, 5.4 million would put them ahead of Honda. It would put them around Nissan's level, and Nissan's been faltering lately. It might put them ahead of Nissan. It'll put them kind of within striking distance of Ford, and that's, just a few years out. Okay, 9, but that's a big deal. Puts them ahead of a lot of big dogs: Mazda, Mitsubishi, BMW, Daimler, Suzuki. People you've heard of, people you've known for a long time. That's 2017's numbers. Yeah, they're out of date, but they're a good barometer, and I will sharpen those on the next update. So that's how that looks. Please remember, I'm going to have one more update on my numbers before the end of the year. You can find that on Patreon, and you can also find it on Twitter. So if you haven't, consider following me at 4K Podcast if you want to see my final numbers. Now remember, I've got the neutral, bull, and ultra bull cases, and those are already up on Patreon by the time you see this. For patrons at the $10 level who sign up this month, you'll be able to see it all through next year as long as you remain a patron, and at the $25 level for folks who sign up and upgrade in the new year. And I apologize that it has to have a price tag attached, but the amount of hours that go into creating and maintaining a spreadsheet like this is substantial, and I really want to bring it to you, so that's how I have to do it. So what's not captured in these exciting numbers? We're not looking at any production for Roadster in the bear case, or really Cybertruck. Cybertruck isn't included here. The Model Q isn't included. New vehicles, which have not been announced, but I can convince you are going to happen, are not included. New locations are not included, and a substantial increase in the footprint in China, whether at a new location or adjacent to the existing location, is also not included. So these numbers, getting to the top 10 in terms of vehicle producers in the world, is all but a lock at this point. I don't see a way it can't happen. But getting to number 1, it's going to be more interesting. So, what did I miss or misunderstand? Leave me all your thoughts in the comments below. Stay tuned, stay juicy, all that good stuff. And I hope to see you on Patreon to get your comments on the neutral, bull, and ultra bull cases, which are already published, so I can answer all your questions, thoughts, and concerns in an upcoming video.